What we're trying to do now is to decide, of all the inventory we had on hand, how much of it did we sell, did it become cost of goods sold, and how much of it do we still have left as ending inventory at the end of the period here. We have to make assumptions because we may purchase items and they are identical. When you look at them, they are identical. However, we may have purchased them at different prices during the period, and therefore we need to make some assumptions then about what gets sold. The first method we covered was called FIFO, first in, first out. Out means sold, meant the first thing I buy is the first thing I sell. So we're assuming that my cost of goods sold then will consist of our oldest cost, our earliest purchases, and my ending inventory then would be my most recent purchases, my most recent cost. How do we figure cost of goods sold? Well, every time we made a sale using FIFO, since we're selling the old items, we're going to start with the oldest item and work our way forward until we've accounted for everything that we have sold. If we've already sold an item we can't sell again, that's pretty obvious. How do we figure ending inventory? It's the number of units left multiplied by how much each unit cost us. We add them up and that's my ending inventory. If we buy something, it goes in the column that says purchases. If we sell something, it goes in the column that says cost of goods sold. And in the column that says inventory balance, after each and every transaction, we're going to write down everything we have on hand at that moment, and we're going to write it oldest to newest. So everything we have on hand, oldest to newest. And then I had suggested you bring a highlighter so we can draw a heavy dividing line between transactions. Otherwise they kind of tend to run together. It gets a little difficult on the eyes. So I would suggest you get out your calculator now and also your highlighter if you haven't done so. Under FIFO, remember we sell the old items. So we sold a doll on May 8th. Using FIFO, we would assume that we sold what doll? The beginning inventory good. Okay, so my cost of goods sold for that first sale would be $10. Let's make another sale on May 20th using FIFO, where we sell the oldest item. Which would we assume that we sold on May 20th? The one we bought on May 5th. So my cost of goods sold would be $11. How much is my ending inventory at the end of the month? Well, I have the 12 and 13 left, so my ending inventory then would be 25. Let's do the example using FIFO. First thing we had to do was simply to multiply. We took the number of units that we purchased times how much each one cost us. Take all those, add them up. We come up with $14,000. I encourage you to put a big star around that number because that's my check figure. When I finish this problem, I ought to be able to take my cost of goods sold and my ending inventory, add them together, and they ought to equal $14,000. If they don't, then something's wrong. I've made a mistake. Here's what we sell. $100 on the 12th, $30 on the 19th, $70 on the 25th, and $20 on the 30th. Total units sold. Well, if I add them up, I sold 220 units. My ending inventory. Well, tell me this. How many dolls did I have in total that I could have sold? 270. I actually did sell 220. How many must be left? 50. So this is another check figure right here, the 50. When we finish this problem, what we should show in ending inventory are 50 units. If we end up with 45 or if we end up with 60, we've got a mistake then. So what happens first? Date-wise, well, for starters, we have my beginning inventory, which I believe I filled in on the card down there for you. All right, I already put the 60 units at $40 each. So now, again, the inventory card is completed in date order, so we have to look at our purchases and sales and put everything in date order. Date-wise, what happened next then? April 5th. I'm going to buy 90 units at $50 each is $4,500. We've got to buy $90, $50 each. On my inventory card, I'm going to put that in the purchases column. In the inventory balance column, I need to write everything I have, oldest to newest. So I have 60 at 40 is 2,400. Now I also have 90 at 50 is 4,500. Draw a heavy dividing line then. Date-wise, what happens next? I'm going to make a sale. Right on April 12th, I'm going to sell 100. Now, so I need to sell $100 on the 12th using FIFO. What do I sell, old stuff or new stuff? Old stuff, or at least that's the way I cost it. Now, I'm selling a total of 100 units. Using FIFO, where's the first place I would go looking to find those units? The 60 at 40. Do I need all 60? Yes, because I sold 100, so 60 isn't even everything that I need. So I'm going to take all 60 at 40. How many more units do I need to get up to the 100 total that I sold? 40, and they would be at how much each? At the $50 each. What do I have left? Well, I had 60 at 40, but I sold all of them, didn't I? So they're all gone. I had 90 units at $50 each, but I sold 40 of those. How many are left? 50, and they cost me $50 each, so therefore they have a total cost of $2,500. Date-wise, what happens next? I'm going to make a purchase. So I'm going to buy $20, $55 each. Well, I have 50 at 50. I buy 20 at 55. So what do I have now? Well, I've got 50 at 50, and I have 20 at 55. Remember, in that inventory balance column, we always write things oldest to newest. Date-wise, what happens next? The sale. I'm going to sell 30 of them. So on the 19th, we sell 30. Using FIFO, I sell the old stuff. Where's the first place you go looking to find those 30? The 50 at 50. How many do I need? Do I need all 50 of those? No, I just need how many? 30 at 50. So what do I have left? Well, I had 50 at 50. I sold 30 of them. How many do I have left? 20 at 50. Plus I also have what else left? 20 at 55. That was on the 19th. Date-wise, what do I have next? I'm going to make a purchase, 160. So I'm going to buy $100, $60 each on the 22nd. I'm going to record that in the purchases column. What do I have in ending inventory? Well, 20 at 50. 20 at 55, and 160. Date-wise, what happens next? I'm going to sell 70. $70, and we'll sell on the 25th. Using FIFO, where's the first place I go looking to find those items? 20 at 50. Do I need all of those? Yes, because I need to get up to 70, right? So let's take all of those. Where's the next place I'll go looking? 20 at 55. Do I need all of those? Yes, because 20 plus 20 would only get me up to 40. I need to get to 70. How many more am I still looking for? 30, and they would cost me how much each? 60 each. What do I have left? Well, the 20 at 50, that's all gone. The 20 at 55, that's all gone. The 100 at 60, I sold how many of those? 30. So how many are left? 70. What happens next date-wise? 20 of them on the 30th? Okay, so on the 30th, I'm going to sell 20 using FIFO. Well, in this case, it didn't matter what method I use. They must cost me how much each? 60, because that's all that I've got, right? So I'd sell 20, costing me $60 each. How many do I have left? I had 70, I sold 20, I have 50. Now, do you remember when we started this example, we said how many units should there be in ending inventory? And we said 50. How many units are there in ending inventory now? 50. That's a good sign. If I didn't end up with 50 at the end of this problem, then I know I made a mistake. So 50 units in ending inventory, that's just what I ought to end up with. What is cost of goods sold? Well, for cost of goods sold, we're going to go back to our inventory card, and I'm going to add up everything that's in this column. Add them all up. And it should look like this. It should add up to a total of $11,000. The other number I need is ending inventory. What is ending inventory? Well, I'll go back to my inventory card. I'm going to look at the bottom right corner. My ending inventory then is $3,000, 50 units at $60 each. Now, what if there had been multiple components of my ending inventory? I'd have to add them together. I didn't in this case, but otherwise I'd have to add them together. So my ending inventory then is going to be $3,000. For my check figure, I'm going to take my cost of goods sold, which was $11,000, add to it my ending inventory of $3,000, and we come up with a total of $14,000 that we have accounted for. Did we see the number 14,000 before? Yes, when we started this problem, we saw that we needed to account for total inventory of 14,000. We have the same number there, and that's a good sign. If you were to add those numbers together and get something other than 14,000, you know you made a mistake. Okay. That was FIFO then. First in, first out. So under the FIFO, the assumption was, what did we sell? The old stuff. Now we're going to talk about LIFO. Last in, first out. The last thing I buy is the first thing I sell. Under FIFO, what do we assume? The first thing I buy is the first thing I sell. Under LIFO, the last thing I buy is the first thing I sell. The physical flow of most businesses is FIFO. That's the way most people manage their inventory. That does not mean they have to use FIFO to cost their inventory. They might choose to use LIFO. There are advantages and disadvantages to FIFO and LIFO. So I can be a grocery store who is physically moving my inventory in a fashion that is FIFO, but I could still choose to use LIFO to cost it. Cost of goods sold then under LIFO consists of my most recent purchases. Ending inventory then is my earlier purchases. So under FIFO I sell the old stuff, under LIFO I sell the new stuff. How do you figure cost of goods sold? Every time you make a sale, you're going to start with the latest purchase you have and work your way backwards until you've accounted for everything that you've sold. You must have the units on hand before you actually can sell them. Ending inventory is going to be what's left. Take the number of units left, multiply it by how much each unit cost us, and that's going to be my ending inventory. The process of completing the inventory card is unchanged. we're going to do the exact same thing we did previous. All that's going to change is the order in which we assume we sold our inventory. Everything else is the same. If we buy something, it goes in the purchases column. If we sell something, it goes in the cost of goods sold column. After every transaction, we're going to write everything we have, oldest to newest, in the inventory balance column, just like we did under FIFO. Always oldest to newest. And we're still going to draw that dividing line after the transactions. Let's look at our Barbie example right here. We sell a doll on May 8th. Using LIFO, you would assume we sold what doll? Good. Why is it May 5th and not May 25th? You don't have it yet. That's a tricky one. You got to make sure you have it before you can sell it. Let's do another one, see if I can trick you again. What if we sell a doll on May 20th? Which one would you assume we sold? The 12th. Why not the 25th? You don't have it yet. You don't have it yet. So my cost of goods sold will be 12. What's ending inventory at the end of the month? Well, I still have the beginning inventory, the $10 plus the $13, says my ending inventory will be $23 at the end of the month. Let's go back to our dolls. Same info as before. Our check figure is still $14,000. When we finish, we ought to be able to add the two figures together and still come back to $14,000. Same information about the sales. None of that's going to change either. Date-wise, what happens first? I got my beginning inventory first, right? And I've already filled that in for you. Do you see where I filled that in on the inventory card for you, the 60 at 40? Date-wise, what happens next? April 5th, we're going to make a purchase, right? 90 at 50. Let's go to my inventory card. 90 units at $50 each on the 5th for the date. We'll put that in the purchases column. In my inventory balance column, we're going to do it just like we did before. We're going to write everything we have, oldest to newest. So we still have the 60 at 40. Now we also have the 90 at 50. And when you finish recording that, let's draw our heavy dividing line so we can keep this one visually separated from the next entry. And yes, you can bring a highlighter on the test. I encourage you to do so. What happens next, date-wise? I'm going to sell 100 of them on April 12th. So on April 12th, I'm selling $100. Using LIFO, where's the first place you go looking for units that you sold? The 90 at 50. Do we need all 90? Yes, we do, because we need to get to 100. So I'm going to take all 90 at 50. How many more dolls do I need? 10, because 100 minus 90 says I need 10 more, and they would cost me how much each? 40. So 10 times 40 is 400. What do I have left? Well, I had 60 at 40. How many of those did I sell? 10. So how many do I have left? 50 at 40. How about my 90 at 50? How many of those do I have left? They're all gone. They're gone. So all I have left now are 50 units at $40 each. Okay, that was on the 12th. Date-wise, what's next? On the 15th, I buy 20 units at $55 each. Let's go back to my card. Again, 20 units, $55 each. So I had 50 at 40, and now I have 20 at 55. What happens next? Going to sell 30 on the 19th. Selling $30 on April 19th. Using LIFO, where's the first place I'd go looking to find those dolls? 20 at 55. Do I need all 20 at 55? Yes, I do. Because I need to get up to 30. I can get 20 at 55 there. How many more do I need? 10. And the 10 cost me how much each? 40. So I'm going to sell the 20 at 55 and then 10 at 40. What do I have left? Well, I had 50 at 40. I sold 10 of them. How many do I have left? 40. So I have 40 at 40 left. How about my 20 at 55? They're all gone. Just pause right now. 40 at 40. Where did those 40 come from? Beginning inventory. They're still around. Now that doesn't mean they're physically still around, but their costs are still around in our books. Okay, just keep that in mind. All right, date-wise, what happens next? We're going to buy 100, $60. So we're going to buy $100, $60 each. We had 40 at 40. And now I have 160. Keep in mind that in that far right column, we are always writing everything we have, and we'll always write it oldest to newest. Do you see where the mechanics of this process really are just like they were for FIFO? Do you see they are the same? What's the only column where anything's changing? Cost of merchandise sold. Exactly. The only place we're really changing what we're doing is how we're assuming goods are sold. Date-wise, what's next? Okay, we're going to sell 70. So on the 25th, we're going to sell 70. Now again, we're using LIFO. Using LIFO. Where's the first place you're looking to find your 70? The 100 at 60. Do I need all 100 of them? No, I just need how many? 7. 70 at 60 says it would be a total of 4,200. What do I have left? Well, how about my 40 at 40? All of those are left. And I had 100 at 60. I sold 70 of them. How many of those are left? 30 then. That's 60. Date-wise, what happens next? I'm going to sell 20. So on the 30th, I'm going to sell 20. Using LIFO, where would you assume those units came from? Okay, the 30 at 60. I'm going to take just 20 of them because that's all that I need. I'm going to take 20 at 60. Let's see what I have left. How about my 40 at 40? Still around. I had 30 at 60. I sold 20 of them. How many of those do I have left? 10. So I have 10 at 60. Notice we finished our example. How many units do we have left in ending inventory? 50. 40 plus 10 says we have 50 units left in ending inventory. How many units were we supposed to have left in ending inventory? 50. If that didn't add up to 50, you know I've made a mistake. Now, why did we do this? Well, to figure two numbers. First off, we need to know cost of goods sold. What is my cost of goods sold? Well, I'm going to go to the column where it says cost of goods sold. I'm going to go to the amount column. I'm going to add it all up. Here's what your figure should look like. And you come up with $11,800. What figure did we come up with under FIFO for cost of goods sold? 11. What did we get under LIFO? 11.8. They give you different answers. Cost of goods sold under FIFO and cost of goods sold under LIFO will be different. The second number I need in addition to cost of goods sold is I need to know ending inventory. For ending inventory, simple, we'll go to the bottom right corner of my inventory card. I have 40 units left at 40 or 1,600, 10 units at 60 or 600. Add these two figures together. Add these two figures together right here. The 1,600 plus 600 says my ending inventory is 2,200 then. My check figure says take cost of goods sold, 11.8. Add 2 at ending inventory, 2,200. We come back to 14,000. Have we seen the number 14,000 before? We sure have. That is the LIFO. Do you see where the mechanics of the process really are unchanged from FIFO? The only thing that changed is what we assume we sold. Under FIFO, we assume we sold the old items. Under LIFO, we assume we sold the new items.